What if tomorrow morning, all the carbon dioxide in Earth's air just vanished? Trees wouldn't panic. They'd quietly begin dying. Because trees don't mainly grow from soil. They grow from air. That sounds fake, it is not. Let's start tiny, one leaf. It's basically a solar-powered factory that turns sunlight and carbon dioxide into sugar. No carbon dioxide means the factory has no raw carbon. The machines still hum, but they're building nothing. The leaf can still breathe oxygen and move water. But without new sugar, the tree starts spending its savings. Trees store energy as starch in roots and wood. It's like an emergency pantry for winter drought or atmospheric betrayal. Day 1, nothing looks weird. Leaves stay green, birds still sing, our brains relax. Big mistake. Day 3, growth stops. No new leaves, no new wood, no new roots. The tree's construction crew is laid off. Day 7, the tree begins rationing. It closes stomata more, reduces activity, and tries to survive on leftovers. But trees still spend sugar every second, because living cells must breathe. Even doing nothing costs energy. So the tree starts cannibalizing. It breaks down older tissues to feed the parts that keep it alive. Leaves are expensive. They're the first luxury item to go. The tree drops them to cut costs. Now the forest changes fast. Without leafy shade, temperatures rise at ground level. Soil dries. Remember, trees pump water into the air. That invisible mist helps make clouds. No leaves means less rain. So we get a double hit. Trees stop making sugar, and their own water cycle support system collapses. Within weeks, many plants die. Not because carbon dioxide is toxic when missing, but because carbon is food. Herbivores notice next. Caterpillars, deer, insects. Everyone who depends on fresh leaves starts running out of calories. Then predators feel it. Less prey means less energy. Food webs collapse like a chandelier made of spaghetti. But wait, you might ask, if plants stop photosynthesis, do we lose oxygen and all suffocate instantly? Luckily, Earth's oxygen is a giant savings account built over millions of years. We won't run out in weeks. But oxygen would start declining, because animals, microbes, fires keep spending it. And no one is replenishing the budget. Microbes in soil are especially hungry. They'd keep decomposing dead plants, releasing nutrients, but also consuming oxygen and producing carbon dioxide. Yes, irony time. As plants die, decomposition makes carbon dioxide again. The atmosphere starts refilling like a slow leak in reverse. But recovery wouldn't be cute. Most forests would already be dead, and regrowing from near zero carbon dioxide is painfully slow. Now let's scale up. With fewer trees, less rainfall, and higher heat, huge regions could shift toward grassland or desert. And the ocean. Phytoplankton also need carbon dioxide. They'd crash too, removing a major oxygen source and food base. That means fewer fish, fewer whales, fewer everything. Earth's biosphere shrinks, not with a bang, more like a slow dimming. Here's the brutal truth. Carbon is the skeleton of life's chemistry. Take it away and complexity unravels. But could carbon dioxide actually disappear naturally? Not really. Earth has powerful buffers that keep carbon cycling. The ocean alone holds vastly more carbon than the air. If air carbon dioxide dropped, the ocean would release some to rebalance. Rocks also store carbon as limestone. And volcanoes leak carbon dioxide from deep Earth like a slow planetary exhaust pipe. So zero carbon dioxide is basically a C switch. But it teaches us something: plants are balanced on invisible chemistry. Even small carbon dioxide changes matter. Because photosynthesis isn't magic, it's a rate. Less input, less output. Different plants also react differently. Some are efficient at low carbon dioxide, others struggle. So the winners and losers would shift. Trees are mostly C3. They generally like more carbon dioxide. So removing it hits forests especially hard compared to some grasses. Now, here's the twist. Carbon dioxide is both life's ingredient and climate's thermostat. Less carbon dioxide cools the planet. Cooler sounds nice, until you realize colder oceans hold more carbon dioxide, and glaciers expand, changing rainfall, soils, and habitats. So we get a bizarre outcome: a cooler world, with fewer plants, less food, and a shrinking biosphere. Cozy apocalypse. But remember, decomposition makes carbon dioxide. So over time, carbon dioxide creeps back, and life tries to restart from the ashes. The first comeback champions wouldn't be giant trees. They'd be microbes, algae, and tough pioneer plants. Forests take time. Like human civilization's worth of time. Trees are patient engineers, we are not. So the real lesson isn't carbon dioxide bad, or carbon dioxide good. Its systems have trade-offs, and we live inside them. If we mess with the carbon dial too fast, ecosystems can't adapt. They don't get a training montage. They just collapse. Trees are not decorations. They're climate machines, water pumps, carbon vaults, habitats, and food foundations. All at once. And they're also temporary. Every forest you see is a brief phase in a planet that constantly reshuffles life. That sounds depressing. But it's also freeing. If everything changes, then understanding how it changes is real power. So no, carbon dioxide won't magically vanish. But imagining it helps us see trees clearly as air-built towers on a thin gas. Next time you walk past a tree, remember, most of what you're seeing was once invisible gas, pulled from the sky. And if you want a tiny reminder of our favorite invisible gas, we made something. A limited carbon dioxide meter duct pin. Check yours carefully. One pin has the carbon dioxide needle stuck at 0, and it's not a good sign for forests. Before we move on, let's answer the question everyone asks first: would trees suffocate without carbon dioxide? Nope, they'd starve. They still have oxygen for respiration. The problem is carbon. No carbon input means no new sugars, no new tissues, no growth. Think of a tree like a city. Leaves are factories, roots are mines, and the trunk is infrastructure. Carbon dioxide is the supply truck. If supply trucks stop, the city can run on warehouses for a while. Then the lights flicker. Then services shut down. In real trees, the services are things like repairing cell walls, defending from pests, and replacing damaged proteins. Maintenance is constant. Without maintenance, stress builds. Drought hits harder. Heat hits harder. Bugs hit harder. The tree becomes an easy target. Trees normally fight back with chemical defenses. But those defenses cost carbon. With no income, the tree can't afford security. Now the underground. Roots don't just drink, they negotiate. They're connected to fungal trade partners that want sugar payments. When sugar stops, the alliance breaks. Fungi can't keep delivering nutrients for free. The tree loses its best supply chain. Some fungi may survive on stored carbon in soil. Others die. The giant wood wide web frays into isolated threads. That isolation matters. Trees share water and warnings through these networks. Without them, every tree is alone in the crisis. After a month, many forests turn into standing dead. Trunks remain, but the living machinery inside is shutting down. Then comes fire. Dead wood dries, heat rises, rain falls less. A spark becomes a continent-scale cleanup crew. Fire releases carbon back as carbon dioxide fast. So ironically, forests dying could restore carbon dioxide after destroying the forests. This creates a nasty loop. Fewer trees means less moisture and shade, which means more heat and fire, which means fewer trees. Meanwhile, soils change. Without roots feeding microbes with sugars, soil life shifts. Some microbes starve, others feast on decay. Nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus start washing away. Forest floors lose structure. Erosion turns once rich land into dusty scars. Rivers clog with sediment. Coastal ecosystems suffocate. It's not just trees die. It's landscape engineering fails. At this point, the planet looks greener from space. Actually, no, it looks browner. The biosphere's glow fades. But let's be scientific. Which trees die first? Fast-growing ones burn through savings quickly. Slow, dense trees last longer. Seedlings suffer most. They don't have big starch reserves. No carbon dioxide means they never build their first real energy bank. Some plants cheat a little by using stored carbon in seeds. But once that starter pack is gone, they need carbon dioxide again. In shady forests, understory plants already live on low light. Without carbon dioxide, the carbon bottleneck becomes absolute. In open areas, sunlight is plenty. But that doesn't help if your raw material is missing. It's like a bakery without flour. Okay, so how long until humans feel this? Food first. Crops are plants. Livestock eat plants. Fisheries depend on plankton. Even if we stored food, agriculture relies on living soil and stable seasons. Without plant growth, farms become waiting rooms. Oxygen won't vanish fast, but calories will. Civilization runs on energy, and most of our edible energy comes from photosynthesis. There is one weird workaround: eat stored carbon, like fossil fuels, or wood. But that's basically eating the furniture. Humans could grow food in sealed greenhouses with injected carbon dioxide. But in this scenario, carbon dioxide is gone everywhere. That's tough. We could synthesize food from chemistry, maybe using electricity to build sugars. But scaling that for billions is ambitious. And remember, ecosystems aren't just food. They regulate disease, water, and temperature. Losing them makes everything unstable. This is why Earth's carbon cycle is precious. It's a slow, boring conveyor that prevents sudden collapse. Until we accelerate it. Now, let's do the extreme scale thing. If carbon dioxide stayed near zero for thousands of years, forests vanish from continents. With fewer plants, less carbon gets buried. Over geologic time, oxygen could drop, and Earth's atmosphere slowly changes character. That would reshape evolution. Life would trend smaller, simpler, and more microbial. Big animals become rare guests in history. But eventually volcanoes keep leaking carbon dioxide. Weathering slows, oceans rebalance. The planet refills its carbon dioxide tank slowly. Once carbon dioxide returns, photosynthesis restarts. First algae bloom, then mosses, then shrubs, then finally trees reclaim territory. Forest recovery is not a switch. It's a slow negotiation between climate, soil, microbes, and chance. Nature rolls dice constantly, so the happy ending is real, but it's not for us. Earth recovers on timescales that ignore human feelings, which is classic optimistic nihilism. The universe does not care, but we can care, because caring changes outcomes for us. Now let's bring it back to reality. Carbon dioxide won't vanish. The real risk is imbalance: too much, too fast, or too uneven. Plants love carbon dioxide, but they also suffer from heat, drought, and storms. More carbon dioxide doesn't automatically mean happier forests. Forests need stable water cycles. If warming shifts rainfall, trees can't just move quickly. They're stuck where they germinated. That's why protecting forests isn't just sentimental. It's system maintenance. You don't smash your radiator because engines like heat. And planting trees isn't a magical fix either. Forests are communities. Without healthy soils and networks, seedlings are lonely. The best frame is simpler: carbon is a cycle. Our job is to avoid shocking it. Gentle adjustments beat sudden switches. So, if carbon dioxide disappeared, trees would fade, ecosystems would shrink, and Earth would eventually rebuild. It's tragic. It's normal. But right now, carbon dioxide is not zero. It's rising. And that means our real question is, can forests adapt faster than we change? If we get it right, forests stay messy, alive, and weird. If we get it wrong, they become a chapter in geology. Either way, trees remain one of the strangest facts on Earth: giant towers built from invisible gas, powered by sunlight. Let's summarize the timeline. Carbon dioxide hits zero, photosynthesis stops, trees spend reserves, leaves drop, networks fail, and the biosphere browns. It's not a single dramatic moment. It's a quiet budget crisis. Life becomes a long series of, can we afford this? And that's the weird part. Trees can look alive while already losing. Green is not the same as growing eventually. Fewer niches, fewer species, fewer surprises. The planet still works, just with less imagination. Then carbon slowly returns. Decomposition. Oceans, volcanoes, chemistry, Earth's boring machines refill the sky with carbon dioxide again. Life restarts from the bottom, microbes first, then algae carpets, then small plants. Big forests are late to the party. If that sounds unfair, welcome to geology. Earth doesn't do quick fixes. It does slow inevitabilities. But we're not geology. We're a species that can notice patterns and change behavior. That's rare. That's our superpower. So here's the practical takeaway: forests aren't just carbon sponges. They're water pumps and climate stabilizers that buy time. When we remove forests, we remove shade, rain, making, soil structure, and the living networks below. When we change carbon dioxide, we don't only change temperature, we change the speed of the entire biological economy on land and sea. This is why extremes are scary. Too little carbon dioxide starves photosynthesis. Too much heats the system and stresses forests differently. The goal isn't a perfect number. The goal is stability, slow changes that ecosystems can track without falling behind and snapping. Because ecosystems are like orchestras. If the tempo suddenly doubles, even good musicians turn into chaos. So imagining CO₂ disappears is useful. It shows how thin the line is between planet full of forests and planet mostly empty. And it also shows how weirdly magical trees are. Not spiritually magical, chemically magical. The kind that works every day. They turn sunlight into food, build their bodies from air, and leak water into the sky to make rain. That's incredible engineering. We're surrounded by miracles that look boring because they're common. Like gravity. Like microbes. Like a leaf doing chemistry. If you ever feel small, you are. But you're small inside a system you can understand. And understanding is a kind of hope. So, to celebrate our strange little place in the carbon cycle, we made a limited pin the carbon dioxide meter duck. Cute. Slightly terrifying. And yes, one pin is different. One has the needle stuck at 0. Consider it a pocket-sized reminder of today's video. Because if carbon dioxide disappeared, trees wouldn't explode. They'd fade. And that's scarier. Quiet collapse is easy to ignore. The good news is we can still choose slow, careful change instead of sudden shocks. The carbon dial is not a toy. Trees are built from air, but our future is built from decisions. Which is unfair, because decisions don't photosynthesize. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hug a tree, admire a leaf, and if you want a tiny carbon dioxide reminder, you know where to find it. Every day, we're surrounded by headlines, fast, loud, and often incomplete. But the real story of our universe lives underneath. In atoms too small to see, and systems too big to fully grasp. This channel exists to explore those ideas. To slow things down, connect the dots, and explain the science shaping our future. If you're curious about how the world really works, you're already part of the journey. If you enjoy science explained clearly, subscribe to the channel. If this episode changed how you think, leave a like and share it with someone curious like you. And if there's a question you want explored next, write it in the comments.